Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The antique shop had always been a quiet curiosity at the end of Ash Street, tucked between a bakery and a bookstore, its windows fogged with dust. Ethan, the older brother, had passed it many times without so much as a glance. But Jesse, always the impulsive one, couldn't resist the allure of the unknown. That day, as the brothers meandered down the cobblestone street, it was Jesse who stopped abruptly in front of the old wooden door. "Oh," Jesse said, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. Ethan frowned, glancing at his watch. "How we don't have time for this." Jesse, already pushing the door open, flashed him a grin. "Clark, we don't make time." The bell above the door jingled as they stepped inside, a sound that seemed to echo far too long in the narrow space. Inside the shop was a labyrinth of ancient furniture, dusty trinkets, and forgotten relics. Ethan wrinkled his nose at the smell: old books, varnish, and something more peculiar like damp earth after a storm. "Just a quick look," Ethan muttered, trying to keep his brother in sight as Jesse darted from shelf to shelf, his fingers brushing over strange objects as if each one held a secret. Ethan was about to pull him toward the exit when Jesse's voice rang out from a dark corner. Hey, check this out." Reluctantly, Ethan wound his way through the clutter until he found Jesse standing before a glass case. Inside, on a velvet cushion, was a mask. It was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen, smooth and silvery, its surface marked with intricate carvings that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Its shape was neither human nor animal, its hollow eyes both inviting and unsettling. "Let's up about it," Jesse said, his hand already reaching for the case. Before Ethan could protest, the shopkeeper appeared, a tall, thin man with a sharp face and eyes that seemed too dark for his age. He moved silently, as though he had materialized from the shadows themselves. "You've found something interesting," the shopkeeper said, his voice as soft as the creaking floorboards beneath them. Jesse, undeterred by the eerie presence of the man, pointed to the mask. "Friend, what's the story behind that?" The shopkeeper smiled, but it was the kind of smile that sent a chill down Ethan's spine. "That mask," he said slowly, "is very old. They say it was crafted by a sorcerer long ago, a man who believed that true power came from transformation. Legend has it, whoever wears the mask can become something else." "Something else?" Jesse repeated, his curiosity clearly piqued. "Yes," the shopkeeper said, leaning closer. "A magical creature, whatever form your heart desired." Ethan crossed his arms, skeptical. "Sounds like a fairy tale." The shopkeeper's gaze shifted to him, and for a moment Ethan felt as though the man could see straight through him. "Fairy tales often contain a grain of truth," the man said, turning back to Jesse. But beware power. Like that comes with a price." Jesse grinned. "How much?" $50, the shopkeeper replied, his smile never wavering. Ethan wanted to pull Jesse away to tell him they didn't need an old mask or a cryptic warning, but Jesse was already pulling out his wallet. "You were kidding, right?" Ethan hissed. We don't need that thing." Jesse shot him a look, the kind that said this wasn't too up for debate, so I just a souvenir. Man biting up. Before Ethan could argue further, Jesse handed over the money, and the shopkeeper placed the mask in a worn leather bag. As they left, the shopkeeper's final words followed them out the door. "Take care, boys. The mask chooses its wearer." That night, back in their small apartment, Jesse couldn't wait to try the mask. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, watching as Jesse pulled the mask from the bag and held it up to the light. It shimmered, the carvings almost seeming to move as the light hit them from different angles. "This is going to be awesome," Jesse said, excitement bubbling in his voice. Ethan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Yeah, sure, don't turn." Before he could finish, Jesse slipped the mask over his face. The effect was immediate. A soft glow enveloped him, and for a brief moment, the room seemed to hum with energy. Ethan jumped to his feet as Jesse's body began to change, his limbs lengthening, his skin darkening until it shimmered with an ethereal sheen. Wings, dark, leathery, and immense, sprouted from his back, and horns curved from his breast. Ethan's heart raced as he backed away, knocking over his chair. "Sorry, Jesse. What the hell?" But the creature before him wasn't Tisa's brother anymore. It was something else entirely. something out of a nightmare. Jesse, or whatever he had become, looked down at his new form with a mix of shock and awe. He said, his voice distorted but still recognizable. "Gary, this is incredible." "Incredible," Ethan shouted, his panic rising. "Garata Yuri. Jesse grinned, baring sharp teeth. "I can fly, man. Watch this." Before Ethan could stop him, Jesse ran toward the window, his wings unfurling behind him. He crashed through the glass, disappearing into the night sky, leaving Ethan standing in a room filled with shattered glass and fear. Hours passed before Jesse returned, landing clumsily on the fire escape outside their apartment. Ethan had barely slept, pacing the room, trying to make sense of what had just happened. When Jesse finally pulled off the mask, his body returned to normal, but the excitement in his eyes hadn't dimmed. "You've got to try it," Jesse said, breathless. "You can be anything you want." Ethan shook his head, still in shock. "No way. That thing is dangerous." Jesse shrugged. "Yuri just scared." "Damn right, I am scared." Ethan snapped. "Be turned into a freaking demon." Jesse rolled his eyes. "Look aside, just for fun, we'll figure it out." But Ethan wasn't convinced. Something about the mask felt wrong, like it was more than just a tool for transformation. It felt alive. Over the next few days, Jesse continued to experiment with the mask, each time transforming into a different magical creature. A griffin one night, a dragon the next. He reveled in the power, pushing the limits of what the mask could do, while Ethan watched from the sidelines, his unease growing with every transformation. Then one evening, the shopkeeper returned. Ethan had just come home from work when he found the man standing outside their apartment door, his dark eyes fixed on him. "I see you've been using the mask," the shopkeeper said, his voice soft but firm. Ethan swallowed hard. "To warn you," the man replied, "Damulak the mask, ... not meant for human hand. The more your brother uses it, the more it will consume him." Ethan's stomach twisted. The shopkeeper's eggs darkened. The mask feeds on desire. Each time he wears it, it takes a little more. Soon he won to be able to take it off at all. Ethan felt a cold wave of fear wash over him. "You didn't he say that when you sold it to us?" The shopkeeper's smile returned, but it was colder now. "He said I didn't have to. The mask chooses its wearer, your brother made his choice." Before Ethan could respond, the shopkeeper turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Ethan alone with the weight of his warning. That night, as Jesse prepared to put on the mask again, Ethan stopped him. "You need to stop," Ethan said, his voice low and urgent. "Harry, the mask is dangerous." Jesse laughed, shaking his head. "You're overreacting, man. It's just a mask." "No, it's not," Ethan insisted. "It's soon changing you, and if you keep using it, you won till you be able to take it off." Jesse's smile faltered, and for the first time, doubt flickered in his eye. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by the familiar spark of excitement. "I can handle it," Jesse said, slipping the mask over his face once more. Ethan watched in horror as his brother transformed again, this time into something even more monstrous. But as the creature before him spread its wings and flew out into the night, Ethan knew that he was losing Jesse to the mask, and he didn't know how to stop it. Ethan barely slept that night, his thoughts racing in an endless loop. The mask was no longer just a strange artifact. He could feel it pulling his brother deeper into something neither of them understood. He tried to stop Jesse, tried to reason with him, but the mask's grip was stronger than Ethan's word. Every time Jesse wore it, he changed a little more, not just in form, but in attitude. There was a new edge to his voice, a dangerous thrill in his eyes, that Ethan couldn't hear. The next morning, Jesse was gone. Ethan had woken to find a note scrawled in Jesse's careless handwriting, gone to test something. "Be back later." Ethan's stomach clenched as he crumpled the note in his fist. He knew where Jesse had gone, and he knew what he was testing. Hours passed, and with each one, Ethan says, worry grew. He paced the apartment, glancing at the door every few minutes, willing it to open. He tried calling Jesse's C phone, but there was no answer. Finally, as dusk settled over the city, Ethan made a decision. He grabbed his jacket and headed out the door. He didn't know where to start looking, but a part of him knew Jesse wouldn't be far. The mask and its influence had a pull that was hard to resist, and there were only so many places where a person could hide while transformed into a magical creature. Ethan started with the usual spots, Jesse's favorite haunts, places where he could let loose without attracting too much attention. But with each empty location, Ethan's dread deepened. Then he remembered the park on the edge of town. It was quiet, secluded, and vast enough that Jesse could fly without being seen. Ethan sprinted there, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he ran through the darkening street. When he reached the park, the air was still and heavy, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of the city. Ethan scanned the sky, his heart pounding, and then he saw a shadow moving against the twilight. At first he thought it was a bird, but the shape was wrong, too large, too powerful. It swooped low, circling the park, and Ethan knew it was Jesse. "Jesse," he shouted, running toward the clearing. The creature landed with a heavy thud, its massive wings folding against its back. As it stepped into the light, Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Jesse's transformation was different. This time his body was larger, more imposing, and the glow in his eyes was sharper, more predatory. Ethan approached cautiously. "Jesse, you've got to stop this. You're re-losing yourself." Jesse tilted his head, regarding Ethan with an unsettling smile. "I am not losing myself. I am finding something new, something better you would understand." Ethan's heart sank. Jesse's voice, though, still familiar, had an edge of something cold, something distant. "This isn't you," Ethan said, his voice trembling. "Surely that mask is changing you, Jesse. You've got to take it off before it's said too late." Jesse laughed, a harsh, grating sound that sent chills down Ethan's spine. "Why would I take it off? I've never felt this powerful. You were just scared, but you don't know what it's like to you." Ethan clenched his fists. "No, I am scared because I know what is happening to you. The shopkeeper warned me. The mask feeds on you, Jesse. I'm taking control." Jesse's expression darkened. "He's lying. He doesn't want us to have this power. You've always been afraid of taking risks, Ethan, but not me. I am not afraid anymore." Before Ethan could argue, Jesse turned away, his wings spreading wide. "I don't need you to tell me what to do. I know what I want." Ethan's pulse raced as he watched his brother prepare to take flight again. Desperation gripped him. "Jesse, please. If you keep using the mask, you want to be able to stop." Jesse hesitated just for a moment, but then shook his head. "You don't understand, Ethan. I am beyond that now." With a powerful flap of his wings, Jesse launched into the sky, disappearing into the night. Ethan stood frozen, the weight of helplessness pressing down on him. He had tried to reach his brother, but it wasn't enough, and now Jesse was slipping further away. Ethan spent the next few days searching for answers. He returned to the antique shop, but Mr. Grimsby was gone. The shop was locked up, its windows dark, and there was no sign of where the shopkeeper had vanished to. Ethan scoured the library, hunting through old books and texts, trying to learn more about the mask, but the information was scarce. Every mention of the mask warned of its corrupting influence, of how it twisted its wearer's desires until they were no longer recognizable. One evening, as Ethan sat in the apartment poring over another ancient book, a knock sounded at the door. He opened it to find a stranger standing there, a man dressed in dark robes, his face shadowed beneath a hood. "Are you Ethan?" the man asked, his voice low and gravelly. Ethan tensed. "Who's that's asking?" The man stepped forward, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "My name is Elder. I know about the mask, and I know how to stop it." Ethan's breath caught. "You know about the mask?" Elder nodded, his expression grim. The mask was never meant to be in human hands. It was created by an ancient sorcerer, a man who sought to control the power of magical creatures. But the mask has a will of its own. It corrupts, it consumes until the wearer becomes nothing more than a vessel for its power. Ethan swallowed hard, and my brother, Aldor's eyes softened. If he continues to use the mask, he will be lost. The mask will take everything from him until there's nothing left of the boy you once knew. Ethan's chest tightened. "How do I stop it?" Alder held up a small glowing stone. "This is the stone of severance. It's the only thing that can break the masks all on your brother. But the process is dangerous. You'll need to confront him. And when the time comes, use the stone to destroy the mask. But be warned, the mask will fight back. It won't give him up easily." Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. "I'll do whatever it takes." The next night, Ethan found Jesse in the same park, standing on a hilltop, his wings folded behind him as he stared out at the city below. The mask had changed him even more. His features were sharper, his movements more animalistic, but it was still his brother beneath the surface. Ethan had to believe that. Jesse, Ethan called out, approaching slowly. I am here to help you, dear. Jesse turned, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. I'll help you out. I don't need help, Ethan. I am stronger than I've ever been. Ethan reached into his pocket, his fingers closing around the stone of severance. This isn't strength, Jesse. It sends the mask. It's us controlling you. Jesse's expression hardened. You still don't get it, do you? This is who I am now. You were the one who said too scared to embrace it. Ethan took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. Stop, I am not scared, Jesse. I am your brother, and I am not going to let you lose yourself. Before Jesse could react, Ethan pulled a stone from his pocket and held it out. A bright light erupted from the stone, illuminating the night. Ethan stepped closer, the stone glowing brighter. Take off the mask. Jesse, fight it. Jesse saw his face twisted with pain and fury as the mask tightened around him, refusing to let go. I can't. You can, Ethan shouted, his voice breaking with emotion. You were stronger than this. Yuri, my brother. Please, Jesse, Don. Let it take you. For a moment, Jesse hesitated, his hand trembling as it reached for the mask. The mask pulsed again, its dark magic lashing out, trying to stop it. But then with a final, desperate cry, Jesse ripped the mask from his face and threw it to the ground. The moment the mask hit the earth, it shattered into 1,000 pieces, the dark energy dissipating into the night. Jesse collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. Ethan rushed to his side, pulling him into a tight embrace. It's over. Ethan whispered. Tell it's over. Jesse, his voice weak and shaken, looked up at his brother. Thank you. The brothers stayed like that for a long time, the shattered mask lying in fragments around them, its power finally broken. Ethan held onto his brother, knowing that they had faced something dark and dangerous, but they had made it through together.